table here today. So we please ask that you respect the council, you respect the applicants, and you respect yourselves, and keep decorum during the meeting so that we can get through this and everybody can get on with their wonderful day. So with that, we'll move on to approval of the final agenda. Is there a motion to approve the final agenda?
So moved.
There is one change in the consent agenda. At the very end, the town attorney has said we have to add the words "as needed" after the word "the committee." And again, that's just the consent agenda for resolution 24-290, the Town Disaster Advisory Council appointment and authorization. Is that sufficient?
That is sufficient. Just a point of clarification. It's really just to say that the town manager will fill any vacancies on those committees as needed in the event that someone who you initially appoint is no longer able to serve. It doesn't have to come back to you. The town manager can fill in that spot and keep that committee going.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda?
Move to approve as amended.
Got a motion by Councilor King,
Second.
second by Councilor Woodson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Next, public comment. Madam Clerk?
I have a few.
Okay.
First up will be Michelle Cherney. After Michelle will be Bill Veach.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle Cherney. I've owned a home here for 15 years. I've been a full-time resident for 5 years, and I'm not leaving. I love this island. I'm here.
How did that get into the requirements? It's
Have to be
17 stories.
if you don't. Thank you.
Them are residents or property owners on the town of Fort Myers Beach, and it's 100% again.
Hearing is ordinance 24-34, DA 202-40170, Seagate/Home Rule Development Agreement, Red Coconut. This is the second reading and final hearing of the proposed ordinance 24-34 entitled, "An Ordinance of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving a home rule development agreement for property located at 3001 Estero Boulevard, 2943 Estero Boulevard, 2932 Estero Boulevard, 211 Donora Boulevard, Fort Myers Beach, Florida. Strap numbers 29-46-24-W1-00145.1000, 29-46-24-W1-00145.5000, 30-46-24-W2-00001.0000, 29-46-24-W1-A01208.0010, and owned by Seagate Fort Myers Beach LLC, as authorized by Section 2/100 of the town's Land Development Code and in compliance with the procedures for application and approval of development agreements with deviations set forth in Resolution Number 24-73 for the purpose of redevelopment of the property previously known as the Red Coconut RV Park, providing for terms and conditions including but not limited to the identification of the proposed use of the property, a finding of consistency with the Town of Fort Myers Beach Comprehensive Plan, commitments and development obligations, deviations needed for development, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. Now, if any town council member has any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made of the site. Councilor Safford?
I've had several phone call conversations since the last meeting with Mr. Price, and I've met personally with quite a number of local residents, received quite a number of emails, even got some text messages via Facebook Messenger. Please don't do that. That's it.
Councilor Woodson?
I have had exactly the same. I've had 2 different conversations with Mr. Price. I've received a lot of emails, mostly negative. I've had some positive conversations with other residents.
Vice Mayor Earl?
Yeah, very similar emails, both pro and con. Obviously, most of them con on the email front. A litany of conversation with a variety of people, both pro and con. including the applicant.
Counselor King?
Emails again, pro and con, mostly again con, and I had a nice, lovely conversation yesterday with Barbara Hill regarding Seagate.
Okay, since the last hearing, I also have received many emails, mostly against the project. I've had conversations with Mr. Price and his team. I have briefly spoken about it on the Sunday show of Beach Talk Radio, and that's about it. Obviously, I've had personal conversations with people in the public that have come up and talked to me as well.
So Mayor, having heard the disclosures, I just want to place on the record, are each of you able to fair and impartially hear the testimony and evidence presented to you today, and you have not had a preconceived opinion as to this particular development?
Counselor Safford?
I can be fair and honest. Yes.
Counselor Woodson?
I'll be honest.
Counselor King?
As I told Barbara yesterday, I'm open-minded.
Vice Mayor Hill?
Same.
Very open-minded.
Mayor, also, we have representatives of the applicant here today. This is an appropriate time for them to ask any questions that they would like of the ex parte disclosures.
Would you like to come on? Hello again.
Good morning. For your record, Richard Aiken, representing Seagate. I don't have any questions about the disclosures. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Richard.
And also, there's reference to a lot of emails that were received. I'd like the clerk to say, has those copies of those emails been provided to the applicant?
Yes, they have been.
Okay.
Okay. I see you just sat down. Sarah Prost has been qualified as an expert already by this town council, and based on her education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use, planning, and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as an expert witness on behalf of the applicant at this time? Yes, that haven't been before. Do they have to do it again? I know we keep asking.
If they've already been qualified as an expert in a prior hearing, it's not necessary. But we have quite a group today, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Do you mind doing it again? Being qualified? Okay. Just, if you both can take a brief, just come up and say who you are and what qualifies you, and we'll take the vote.
Matt Price, Seagate Development Group, been in development for 25 years, looking to get qualified as a development expert.
Thank you, Matt.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. For the record, I'm Tina Ekblad, principal at Sage Entitlements. I have been an AICP certified planner since 2011. I have a master's degree in public administration from Florida Gulf Coast University, and I've been practicing planning in Lee County, Fort Myers Beach, and the surrounding municipalities since 2005.
Okay.
You previously accepted me as an expert in land use, and I would like to be accepted so today.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Tina before we take a vote? All right. Is there a motion to approve Tina and Matt as expert witnesses in the field of land use development?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Counselor Safford, seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hill?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Has the property owner applicant seen a copy of the agenda backup materials from staff? They are all nodding their head yes. Okay.
Sarah.
Sarah, come on up.
I wasn't gonna stand up till he knew.
Hey, you're getting your steps in.
Good morning, Sarah Probst with Community Development. This is the second and final hearing of home rule development agreement for the Seagate Red Coconut property. The applicant has provided an updated master concept plan and development agreement since the last hearing, and those are contained in the agenda packet. This is a development agreement to allow 137 dwelling multifamily structure, 4 single-family units, which may be increased to 12 single-family units with density transfers from adjacent properties, not to exceed a total of 149 units with potential density transfers. A pedestrian walkover over Estero Boulevard, a 29,000 square foot beach club, 10,000 square feet of commercial space, public restrooms, a beach park, a bayside park, and a linear park through the property. The applicant will now give a presentation, and then staff will return to provide a recommendation prior to opening up the meeting for public comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Matt, you gonna go? Yep. Let me make sure I read it from my sheet though. Would the applicant please proceed with their presentation on this item?
Now I'm ready to go.
Now you're ready to go.
Well, first things first, I'm lucky my Eagles beat the Steelers. My business partner is a Steelers fan, and the bet was I would have had to wear a Steelers jersey to this, and that would have been very awkward for me, so.
For all of us.
So, thank God my Eagles won. Secondly, I was admonished by Vice Mayor Adderhall, and rightfully so. I tried to maybe jump in at the end, but we were already in public comment. What I said should have been said. There's no excuse for it, and I apologize to council, staff, and the public that was there, and the public that heard it here. So there's just no excuse for it. I did have a follow-up conversation with the mayor. We talked, and he got some feedback that our team was talking a lot, going back and forth, et cetera. So I've had discussions with my team, and hopefully our decorum has changed in the positive way. And if it hasn't, please let us know, and we will change accordingly. So just wanted to hit that fact. There's a lot of people here. I'm sure they want to talk. I want to give them the opportunity to talk. Just want to hit on a couple quick points, then Tina's going to get up and say what she needs to say, and we'll let everyone speak. The process that we started almost 2 years ago now started with a meeting with each individual council person out on site to walk around. At that meeting, I asked each individual council meeting, or each individual council person, and that was including Bill Beach, who I think is here today. He's no longer on council. What would be a better starting point to a project? An increase of density or an increase of height? Each of the 5 council people at that time responded to me that height was a better option than density. There were others that on the LPA, Anita, I met with the
Council member has had any ex parte communication to disclose?
In an RV park and that redevelopment area, and how we are supposed to redevelop due to a change in ownership or redevelop due to a natural disaster. Yes, we are consistent because it talks about taking that previous intense use of 27 RV units per
Hearing is ordinance 24-34 DA 202-40170 Seagate/Home Rule Development Agreement, Red Coconut. This is the second reading and final hearing of the proposed ordinance 24-
Where are we?
Well, I think we have a motion on the table from, have you finished your motion? I think you did, because then.
I finished it, you added to it, and then you took it away.
Well, yes, I didn't realize I was kicking a hornet's nest, but.
So, a motion to approve as stands.
Okay, we got a motion by Counselor Woodson. Did someone second it?
I did.
Oh,
Junior.
Vice Mayor Adderholt did. Any further discussion? Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Nay.
And I'm a nay as well. Motion carries 3-2. Congratulations. We're gonna take a 15-minute break. Okay, we're gonna call the meeting back to order. It is 2:17. Our next agenda item is our second public hearing. It is ordinance 24-36, DCI 202-30213, the Neptune Inn, 2310 and 2316 and 2320, the Cerro Boulevard. This is the Myers Beach, commonly known as the Neptune Resort, to allow 148 lodging units and accessory retail and recreational uses, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, Scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. Judith Frankel has been qualified as an expert already by this town council based on her education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use, planning and development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as expert witness?
Now?
Yes.
Okay. If you'll all stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Okay.
And Mayor, also ex parte?
Did I skip over that already? No, sorry. It's been a morning. We'll go back then. If any town council member has had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made at the site. Counselor Safford?
Yes, Mr. Vaness called me regarding bathrooms, and I also received an email.
Okay.
Other than that, got a couple emails for and a couple emails against.
Counselor Woodson?
I've had conversations with the neighborhood company and also received for and against emails.
I also have received for and against emails, received a updated, proposed condition of comments amendments based on the discussion from the first hearing from the applicant. And, yes, Mr. Woodson?
I am.
And Counselor Safford?
Yes.
And the applicant is present along with their counsel if they wanted to ask any additional questions regarding the disclosures. No?
He's
Okay.
shaking his head. Okay. Do we need to re-swear in? They've been sworn in. Is there anyone that hasn't been sworn in? As an expert witness, I should say? Or have done it?
No,
We're good?
we're good.
Okay. Go ahead, Judith. Oh, has the property owner applicant seen a copy of the agenda backup materials from staff? They're all nodding their head yes. Just kidding, Judith. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Judith Frankel with Community Development. The neighborhood company on behalf of CHG Neptune Acquisitions LLC, owner of 2310 and 2316/2320 Estero Boulevard, has applied for a commercial planned development rezoning. The property is currently zoned commercial resort and is in the Boulevard future land use. The applicant is requesting a CPD with 7 deviations to allow a redevelopment of a resort, including 148 lodging units and accessory retail use and recreational uses. Would you like me to go through all of the deviations at this
Just
time?
as an intro, yes.
Okay. Number 1, relief from Land Development Code Section 10-285 requirements as justified by the project's independent parking analysis. Number 4, relief from Land Development Code Section 34-633, which includes covered parking in the floor area ratio calculation to exclude the 2 stories of underbuilding parking from this hotel's FAR calculation. Number 5, relief from Land Development Code Division 4, Table 34-3 for the CR zoning district, which limits height to 30 feet. Zoned and 3 stories to allow a maximum zoned height of 61 feet and a maximum of 6 stories, consisting of 4 stories above 2 levels of parking. Number 6, relief from Land Development Code Section 34-1803A1, which allows the conversion of dwelling units to hotel-motel guest units per established equivalency factors in order to exceed said factors as allowed per Land Development Code Section 34-18 of approval that we're recommending. If you choose to vote in that manner, I'd like to reserve time after the applicant's presentation to come back and discuss them with you. I believe that the applicant has additional conditions that they are proposing based on what they heard at the first hearing.
Okay. Go for it, Judith. Maybe there's some questions.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I've got info that the video's not working.
All right, hold on.
Said it's back on.
It's back on? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Questions for Judith, since you?
Not at this time,
No?
thank you.
Not yet.
Okay. No. Counsel Kane?
Not currently.
Can you go over why the staff recommended denial?
Yes. So with a CPD, we have specific requirements that are in the Land Development Code that we base a reduction of 55 parking spaces and proposing more than 4 times the units permitted by the current zoning district, and twice the number permitted by right under the town's build-back policy. It appears that the proposed reduction may lead to an undue burden on the parking and transportation facilities in the town. A detailed review of the traffic impacts will determine impact fees during development of the property. So parking is part of that review and the criteria that we're using, and so there's that element of the determination in 34-85. In 34-216, One of the criteria we have is that the general intent of the chapter is to protect the public health, safety, welfare, preserved and promoted. Staff reviewed the deviations under that requirement. The proposed deviations are a result of a design choice. So essentially the code is asking us to consider whether the deviations are necessary from something to do with the property or existing conditions, or whether or not they arise out of a choice made by the applicant. In this case, these are choices made by the applicant. We consider that a design choice. And because of that, it doesn't meet that, then we recommend denial. But if you were to recommend approval, we do have conditions to add to that.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Good enough for now, yeah. Patrick, or who's coming up first?
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. Noel Davies with the law firm of Davies Duke on behalf of the applicant for this item, CHG Neptune Acquisitions LLC. The full project team is here again today. Adam Valenti is our client representative. Pat Vanass and Ken Galander are here with the neighborhood company. And Elizabeth Fountain with J.R. Evans is here as our civil engineer. Since we last saw you at first reading, we've added more detail and specificity to our conditions. Going to turn it over to Pat to walk you through those specifics, and I'll remain here for questions. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Pat Vanass. I'm a certified planner with the neighborhood company. And I'm going to go off script here. We're going to jump right into the commitments and conditions and walk you through one by one. But I do want to address the discussion with staff about recommendation for denial. So first one was parking. As we know, and I think we as a town acknowledge that we're overparked. Our code and most codes in this country overpark various uses. We provided an independent parking study that was done by a transportation professional. They used the best available information available to make an assessment, and they said we had sufficient parking. So from a parking standpoint, best data out there says that we've got sufficient parking. The other issue was with the design choice. Deviations by their very nature are design decisions. You come in for a plan development because the plan development allows you to ask for these deviations and to come up with creative, unique, and interesting concepts. And that's what we've done. So to me, the deviation in itself, even if it's a departure from what the code says, that's the intent behind deviations. And obviously, we're requesting it because we are making a design choice. But we think that the design choice that we've made is an improvement and creates a better project. So those are the two issues. I just wanted to make sure I quickly touch upon them. I'll jump right into the conditions of approval. Does everybody have a copy? I've got extra copies here that we can pass around. And I'll also ask the
like
AV
this.
person to blow that up a little bit. Maybe if you could zoom on there, and we'll start with number one and just go down the list. Okay. So last time we were here, I think, generally speaking, we parking garage can be used for residents to park there.
Patrick?
Yeah.
Seems to me I'd ask that you talk to the town about possibly using that for town vehicles. Did that happen, or?
No, to be honest with you, it actually, I kind of missed that one. I forgot about that. I think the idea is we're open to either or. I don't think there's any concern about the town putting their vehicles there. I think it's just a question of working out the priority of, are the town vehicles gonna use most of the parking, or is there gonna be, some other parking left over?
I don't know how many spaces you have.
If we, Ken, do you recall how much on the second floor? 60 spaces plus or minus?
I think our biggest thing is our fast response, to have, 4 to 6 vehicles on the island that we can get to quickly if we have to.
Okay, so not a problem.
Okay.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you'd be willing to add, we'll just say 6 spots?
Yeah.
Dedicated to, yeah.
town vehicles?
Yeah.
You're okay with that,
Yeah.
adding that? For the parking in case of,
Locals will be, and you're gonna have to be a registered local. Locals will be, and you're gonna have to be a registered local, similar to the program that Margaritaville came up with, and that you would obtain 20% on beverages at the hotel, restaurant, or tiki bar.
okay, with that one, I got just a quick question.
Yeah.
Appreciate you considering that and putting it, memorializing it in your request. There, with another provider on the island that offers the same thing, there was an issue, or there has been an issue with the 33931 zip code versus on-island residents. What is gonna be your wording?
I knew that was coming.
I'm just asking, I mean,
No, with 20% is the offer.
okay. Doesn't matter, I always forget to use mine, so I'm just asking. Okay. This is a resolution.
Parking garage can be used.
This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions or denying a variance 202-40100, requesting variances from the Land Development Code, Table 34-3 of 7.3 feet from the street setback for a front setback of 17.7 feet, a variance of 3 feet from the west side setback for a side setback of 4 feet 6 inches, and for the mechanical equipment, and a variance of 12.1% from the building's coverage for a building coverage of 52.1% to build a new single-family structure in the RM zoning district for the property located at 51 Pearl Street, Fort Myers Beach, Florida, and providing for an effective date. If any town council member has had any ex parte communication to disclose, please let us know the subject discussed, the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place, any correspondence that you received, or observations made of the site. Councilor Savage?
I had one Zoom call with the neighborhood group for about 30 minutes discussing the project. And I've gotten a handful of emails from the neighboring condo against the project.
Okay. Councilor Woodson?
I have had the same communication and presentation by the neighborhood company and a few emails.
I've had the exact same thing that both of you just said.
Same with me as well.
Councilor King?
I will just add, I think I got a pro, or one or two that were pro this, so otherwise everything was ditto.
Okay. Judith Frankel has been qualified as an expert by this town council based on her education and experience, has been accepted as an expert in the field of land use planning development in the town of Fort Myers Beach. Are there any other individuals who would like to be qualified as an expert witness on behalf of the applicant at this time? Yes.
Yes.
Come on up.
Qualified. Rachel Hansen with the neighborhood company. I'm a certified planner. I have a master's degree in community and economic development, and I have worked in planning for 8 years, 4 of those in Florida and 4 in Illinois and Iowa.
Questions?
And I'm also an AICP certified planner. Thank you, Patrick.
Kind of an important piece. Questions, Scott?
No.
Karen?
I'm good.
Jim? No. John?
Tempted to ask where in Iowa, but
Davenport, Iowa.
that's what I
Quad
thought
Cities.
with Illinois, but
All right, is there a motion to accept the witness?
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilor Safford, I'll second. Any further discussion? Councilor Safford?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Councilor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Councilor King?
aye.
Welcome, expert.
Thank you.
Has the property owner applicant seen a copy of the agenda backup materials from staff? They are nodding yes. Go ahead.
Good afternoon again, Judith Frankel with Community Development. The property owner in this application is requesting, property owner together with the neighborhood company is requesting 3 variances for a proposed single-family residence in the RM zoning district. The applicant is requesting a variance for the front setback, a variance from the side setback, and a variance from the allowed building coverage. The site is a beachfront lot that is adjacent to Pearl Street, as it is accessible via a driveway easement. The property owner and their representatives are present to discuss their project and the 3 variance requests. I have additional recommendations and considerations, conditions that I'll present after the applicant's presentation. Unless you have any questions at this time.
John, any questions for Judith?
I can wait till then. Well, maybe I better get it in. Sorry, since I'm leaving at 3:30. The staff report recommended denial, was that before, that was before this resubmittal? Have you looked at it since, or?
Yes, so we recommended denial when it came before the LPA. We continue to recommend denial. Similar to what we discussed with the previous application, the code directs us to look at whether this variance is something that is necessary due to conditions existing at the site or whether it's a design choice. And in this case, it is a design choice based on the desires of the property owner. The code also directs us to look at what the potential impacts on the surrounding properties are as well. The variance from the side setback is for air conditioning equipment. They previously had a balcony there. They've removed that from their plan, so it's just the air conditioning equipment that's going into that side setback. We do not believe that there's any nuisance or detriment caused there because that side abuts the Diamond Head parking lot. But the other 2 could have the potential to provide detriment to the surrounding properties.
Thank you.
Jim?
John just asked my question.
I just have a quick question for you. Have you received any communication from either the fire department and or Diamond Head in regards to the setback or the variance requests on the west side?
We've received a number of public comments. I don't believe any of them came from Diamond Head, although they would have been notified as part of the postcard mailings that we do.
I have not received that. I was just curious of the setback.
It's typical for variances. We don't send those to the fire department until they're approved, and at that time they'll look at it, and they'll have to look at it before any kind of development or permitting would be issued.
Okay, I'll ask Patrick. I'm sure we brought it up in our meeting, so. Nobody else has questions for Judith for her? Okay.
Good afternoon. For the record, Patrick Vanass with the Neighborhood Company. I'll just give you a quick intro before I turn things over to Rachel. Rachel is going to do a great job. She's very capable of answering all your questions. But just to give you a little context, Penny Porter is the owner of the property. Penny, like many residents, never had to deal with zoning issues. But again, with the storm like Ian, a lot of people are having to deal with that. She applied for a variance, and she filled it out herself. And again, I think the way she approaches this variance allows me to request what I want. And when it went to the LPA, I think the feeling was that some of the LPA members did not see an effort to modify the design to try to minimize the variance being requested. So after that hearing, Albert Dambrose, who was in the audience, suggested that Penny talk to us, and then subsequently Penny has hired us and Albert to work on her project. Albert has made some design changes to the property to reduce that non-conformity and to reduce the variance being requested when it comes to the front yard variance. And then when it comes to any kind of potential impacts to adjoining properties, I think once you see the graphics that Rachel's put together as to a view shed and view of the beach, we're talking about a very minor impact there, and a property owner that is trying to rebuild and not asking for additional height, and trying to build something that is reasonable on her site. I will reiterate one thing that staff has mentioned. We do have the language when it comes to variance, what the criteria is, and I'll keep harping on this. I did it as an LPA member. If you look at the language, those are not and statement, so it's not like you have to meet one and you have to meet B and you have to meet C. Those are or statements. So this idea that a variance, if you don't minimize the amount of the variance and you have other design choices, that it should automatically be a no. Professionally, I disagree with that. That's not the way I read the language. I think there's a lot more flexibility to our code, and I think that if someone is presenting a house, that yes, maybe they have a design choice where they could make it much smaller, but what they are asking for is a reasonably sized home. I think we have the leeway completely with this code to allow that. So with that said, I'll turn things over to Rachel, and she'll walk you through the detail.
Thank you. Again, Rachel Hansen with the Neighborhood Company. We do have a presentation. Great, thank you. Go ahead.
The time's wrong on that thing. You got 9 a.m.?
How do you know it's not?
Is it,
Yeah,
is
well,
it,
That was
is it
the
on?
whole-
You might have to turn it off and then back on again, just to.
There's a first time for everyone.
If not, just politely say, next slide, please, and they'll do it for you.
Yeah, if you don't mind moving to the next slide, please.
Jason? Okay. Nope. Try now?
There we go.
Great, okay. Patrick has already been over that the property owner is Penelope Porter, and we are the applicant. And then Studio AD is our architect. Next slide, please. So just for some context, the parcel is approximately 0.22 acres. The future land use map designation is Boulevard. The zoning is residential multifamily. It is currently a vacant lot. There was previously a single-family home that was built in approximately 1942. And some of the surrounding uses include Diamond Head to the west. There is a single-family home at 41 Pearl Street.
Ask Patrick, we had talked about this when we had our meeting, our Zoom meeting. You said you were gonna reach out with these setbacks, with the.
No,
The black dot at the very top.
The black dotted line.
You were able to.
The other thing also is.
Probably a better picture for you.
Yeah, I mean,
Flood hazard area in order to comply with the minimum floodplain standards and the requirements of the National Flood Insurance Program and providing for an effective date.
Okay, so your ordinance that you had adopted regarding temporary placement permits, it does have a provision in it that authorizes you to revoke them as needed. The town has received the correspondence from FEMA regarding non-compliant structures. The town has initiated some code enforcement actions regarding these, and we find ourselves where we have some pending permits or issued permits and a hearing scheduled for code violations. So this action would basically rescind and revoke those permits. I know there's a lot of concern in the community. If you have not received a notice of violation, this particular resolution does not apply to you. It applies to the definition of a structure for floodplain management purposes, any walled and roofed building, manufactured home, or travel trailer without wheels. And a manufactured home is a structure transportable in one or more sections, which is built on a permanent chassis and is designed for use with or without a permanent foundation when attached to the required utilities. Manufactured home does not include recreational vehicles. So I do not believe that your residents who are living in travel trailers, campers at this time. They are not impacted by this.
No.
We did a inventory of the permits that were issued for what we believe are these non-compliant structures, and we found there's only about 13 of them. So we will be taking those individuals to a code enforcement hearing before the special magistrate. Our first code enforcement hearing is scheduled for January the 7th.
So will all of, you said there's 13 of them?
I believe so.
Will
They're-
all 13 of them be
I
on
don't
that?
think so, not all 13 on the 7th, but it'll be the subsequent hearing.
Do we know how many will be on the?
We think it's gonna be, I don't know, 5, 7, 9, something
Tom,
like that.
He's coming up.
I forgot sign language. I don't-
Me either, I didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
Whether that was to
I
you
don't know
or
if he was
me.
doing the chicken dance back there.
Thomas Yazzo, Fort Myers Operations Compliance Manager. The goal is to get it done in the next couple months, and that's what we're working towards. Those 13 that are left are of an original 53. The rest have come into compliance by removing those non-compliant structures from the island.
And so how many do you suspect will be on the January 7th, you said, docket?
Yes, we're still working on the packets for that. I know Code has done their part. I have to put some finishing touches on them. We hope to have those issued by Friday, which allows the adequate notice period before the magistrate meeting. So I think it's like 7?
I think we're at 7 right now.
Yeah.
Because we had something else come into compliance as well.
Yeah,
7 that'll be on the January 7th.
January docket for DOA.
right.
DOA, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure it's not our magistrate's DOA.
It is
No, it's
DOA,
DOA.
correct.
DOA, okay.
And if anyone's interested, you can access whenever we file them, which we hope to file by Friday, you can access them off of DOA's website and get the whole packet.
Okay.
So I have a question. So these 13 affected, is this all on the sand beach side, or is there ones that are affected across the other side of Estero? If they're on wheels and they can be moved, they shouldn't be affected, correct?
So that's a hard question in one respect, but yes, it's both sides of Estero, plus going towards the bay as well. So if they're on wheels, that doesn't preclude them from being part of this. If it's a park model style structure that needs to have a tractor trailer take it out of here, and it's not ready and worthy to be on the highway, then then it's not something that can be allowed to stay. It has to be something that they can move out of here with, to the lack of better description, light duty truck that's road worthy
On short order.
in short order.
Just public information for these 13 properties.
Yes.
Do you have the list of these 13 properties? Can we
I
just
do.
get them, can we just
get them
let's get them out there so people know?
Yep.
Sure,
Yes.
sure, and.
'Cause maybe they'll have time to come into compliance before they get put on the docket, which would save everyone a lot.
They've
But
already
also-
We already know.
received a notice of violation.
Well, it'd help us too, because we're gonna get phone calls,
We're
hey,
gonna get all
am
the
I gonna,
questions.
am I gonna get kicked out? So if we have that list, it'll help us respond to the public
Absolutely, I can get that
in
listed.
a more efficient manner.
Just give me a little bit of time to get that squared
Okay.
away. We do have that. I just gotta make sure we have it.
Send it to me.
Yes. I'll send it to
I'll send it to
Amy
them.
and she can send it out.
Okay. That's all I have. Anything else for Tom? The question I have then is revolving, I know we're still going through waiting to get answers back on specific things that obviously have been talked about with FEMA. How does that work in relation to our code that we changed after for the residential trailers? I guess how long are people in the residential trailers gonna be allowed to stay there?
That's an open question, looking for guidance from FEMA. At this point, we don't think that they're in violation with our floodplain code. So we have not issued any notice of violation to them. This appears to be more of a commercial type structures.
So if we get correspondence from FEMA that
Then we will have to
this is in their crosshairs,
revisit.
then we'll have to come back. and-
Yes,
We've
yes.
asked that specific question.
Yes, I know.
But if you have
As
not.
you know, just make sure.
If you haven't received a notice of violation, this resolution is not impacting you now.
That's,
If-
okay, that's a clarification I was hoping that,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you said at the beginning, so in case people haven't heard that, unless you have received a violation as of today, is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes,
Then this resolution does not apply to you. that fair? Okay.
And
I think
FEMA's-
that'll help alleviate a lot of the phone calls,
Ooh.
emails, texts.
And FEMA's told us since the beginning, if they can hook up to a pickup truck and drive away, it doesn't.
And should,
Include
and
them.
should we get correspondence from FEMA in writing saying that this does not go far enough, we will make adjustments
We'll
then.
address it at
Yes,
that point.
yes, and we'll bring it back to you and advise you, keep you informed if anything changes, but,
We won't make any adjustments until we come back to you.
Yeah.
If we have to.
I just had a question to your statement, just for clarification. You said, I think, so if you've not received a notice as of today, you're okay?
If you have not received a violation.
a violation
An NOV
notice, what you're going to be receiving pursuant to this resolution is a formal notice that the permit that you were initially given has been revoked and rescinded.
But if you're out there and you've not received an NOV or notice of violation at this point,
At this time, you are okay.
okay, that's helpful, thank you.
And one
We've
more
sent those out
comment, our special magistrate from DOA will be appearing, via Zoom. However, the parties will be present here in chambers.
And this will be visible to the public. They'll
It will
able
be
to-
visible, I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
However, there will be no public comment taken during the hearing itself.
But it will be streamed?
I believe so, yes.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
And again, that's
January
January
7th,
seventh, at what time?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Okay. And then when do you suspect that we'll have
A
the?
decision?
No,
Oh.
the second,
He has allocated the first Tuesday, I believe, of every month. He's kind
would
of,
be the first Tuesday of
yeah,
February. We
yeah.
would be able to have, that would give us the time to get the remaining 6, 7, whatever it is.
yes.
And then, since you brought it up, decision that's on DOA as to how long the decision takes for them to.
Yeah, I do not know. I do know that in other jurisdictions, oftentimes the local government will provide a draft order, and we'll do that as well to hopefully expedite. I do know that the one that we have filed already, they have an attorney, and so that one will be a little interesting.
And I don't know if it's talk about what the strategy or not the strategy, what is gonna be the request from the town in regards to these 7 properties that are gonna go? Is it gonna be immediate removal? I mean, what, you know,
We
how does it
will
work?
ask for immediate removal, yes. One of the issues, I mean, as a magistrate, they have the opportunity or the authority to give some time for compliance, and I don't know if this magistrate's gonna go down that road. We'll just have to see, but our number one request is removal, so
Is there
that,
an appellate process if they don't like the judge's, their magistrate's decision, they can?
there
take-
is, yes. It's basically the same as our regular magistrate, process that we have. It would go to circuit court, and it would be based on the record that's established at the hearing.
Now, would there be a cost associated with just the defendant, or would the town
There's
have?
typically a administrative fee that comes into play of $250. The magistrate can order a compliance date and say that, yes, you are in violation, you have 10 days to come into compliance, and if you don't, then there'll be a fine for each day that you stay out of compliance, and then we go basically into our standard code enforcement procedure.
How much will the town be involved in that after the DOA decision?
It is our code enforcement process, so yes, we
Yeah.
will be involved.
What about at the appellate level? Are you going to
We do represent the town,
Okay.
in the event there is an appeal. If you
Just
want
wanna
to
make every-
comment.
every-
With any
everyone
judicial,
process.
with any judicial process, we have to be involved because we are the complainant
Okay.
through this. The respondent is the other side. So we would give testimony. The judge will hear our testimony, will hear the respondent's testimony. They'll give a decision. If they decide to appeal it, it goes to circuit court. And then we would have to then present our case again within circuit court, under the auspice that we're using the same evidence from the original trial.
Are we still in violation?
No, all our connexes were removed, our shipping containers. Pardon, scratch that, there's one left, but they're picking it up. So we have coming compliance, as far as the shipping containers go. One of the things you be made aware of, and we need to really get that out in the public, is this is not the revocation of the permit is a town function. The act itself is nothing on the town. This was given to us as part of the National Flood Insurance. This is a federal guideline that the town has to follow. Every community has to follow this. The only avenue we have is by going through the code process in our town. We can't forcibly hook these people up to our trucks and haul them out of here. So we are following the process set forth throughout most communities dealing with the same thing.
Got it. Well, oh, yeah, okay. That's all I got. Well, hopefully this gave some relief to some of our residents that were concerned about living in their campers or operating their food trucks, or not food trucks, food trailers.
Trailers. Trucks, again, if it can be driven.
Yep.
That's the whole thing. I mean, if it can be driven off on a nightly basis, or, that's not an issue. It's the ones, that can't be, so.
284, authorizing budget adjustment number 3 and revenue replacement grant. This is a resolution of the council of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Lee County, Florida, approving grant agreement number D2125 with the state of Florida Department of Emergency Management in the amount of $7,547,805 for revenue replacement, approving a related budget adjustment number 3, authorizing the town manager to sign any and all necessary documents to acquire the grant and providing for an effective date. Joe?
Okay, good afternoon, Joe Onzik, Finance Director. As you probably all remember, the town was actively involved in lobbying for revenue replacement from the state of Florida, and it was approved by the state legislature in that amount of $7.5 million, basically. It was signed into law at the beginning of the state fiscal year, and we finally got the actual agreement from the Florida Department of Emergency Management. It's a very simple agreement. There are no strings attached. There's nothing unusual about it. So it just simply requires a town manager's signature, and so that's why we're bringing it before you. But along with that, I wanted to just present to you the recommended way that we use this funding. According to the terms of the bridge loan, we really are supposed to allocate any additional revenues to paying off that bridge loan before we can use it for anything else. And so what I tried to provide to you, and in hindsight, I don't know if it's as clear as I would have liked to have had it presented, but basically what I wanted to first of all explain is that to date, we've used about $8.4 million of the bridge loan. That was about $3.1 million to cover lost revenue in fiscal year 2023. It was an estimated amount of $2.4 million in fiscal year 2024, and that amount we're getting close to finalizing what that actually was for 2024, but it's very close to that. And then what we had budgeted or expected to lose in year FY25, and that's almost 2.9 million. So as you can see, that 2.4 million is less than what we're of lost revenue compared to what we were projecting the following year, which is kind of an indication that it's really coming down and not going up. So I don't expect, even though we budgeted $2.9 million loss for this year, I don't think it'll actually play out to be that much. But because that's all we have to work with right now, I'm just saying that we have $8.4 million of planned use of the bridge loan. We have $7.5 million of lost revenue replacement grant. So if we were to move that $7.5 million into, well, first of all, we put it into a brand new fund that we would create, and just so that it can be kept tracked of separately. But almost immediately, we would move it into the bridge loan fund to replace what we already have used or are planning to use for this year. That would leave about $127,000 left to repay, and the reason why it's that much less than what you might expect by subtracting the 7.5 million from the 8.4 that we actually used is because we've earned quite a bit of interest on those funds as we've held them on reserve and only using them when we needed to use them. So we only will be left after we move the $7.5 million into the bridge loan fund with about 127,000 left to repay. And I think within a couple of months, we should earn that much in interest. So basically, within just a few months' time, we'll have enough money set aside to completely repay the bridge loan. We don't have to actually repay it to year 2033. And so we would continue to earn interest on those funds. And at some point, if we were to be granted forgiveness of that loan, then that money would become available for us to use for anything else town council decides to use it for. And also then the advantage of having the money in the bank to have that ready to go to pay it back, that basically releases us of all those restrictions that the bridge loan now has on us in terms of any other additional revenue, any other additional savings. We could then use that for capital improvements like we used to do before we had that bridge loan. So it's really a good thing to have this, and I think it'll free us from those restrictions. So this resolution, besides approving the grant agreement, it also creates that new fund for the revenue replacement fund, and then it also has the budget adjustment that allows us to move these funds into the bridge loan to repay it.
So Joe, just to kind of summarize, that was,
Yeah.
you did a great job. I'm just trying to summarize it for those who are
Sure.
maybe paying attention at home. So originally we got $11.9 million loan
Yes.
immediately after Ian through state appropriations. Then next year, 2024, we received this $7.5 million in grant funding. And that's going to be used to pay back the expenditures that we have used out of that 11.9 originally.
Yes.
And with the shortfall, with the interest, it's about $127,000 over 3 fiscal years.
Yes.
But you don't expect us to expend the 2.9 million that's budgeted this year for revenue loss?
Well, that's included.
It is, but
But, and I don't expect that we would actually need that much, but that's part of the plan.
So, remind me what the contract says for that bridge loan. What happens with the interest from that loan?
There is no stipulations about the interest, so we have other agreements with the state where we have to repay any, or pay to them any interest earned, but there is no such stipulation with the bridge loan.
What kind of interest does 11.9 million earn?
It's been, in the last couple of years, it's been close to 5%. So it's been significant.
Joe, I've got a question. I think it's a typo. I just want to
Sure.
make absolutely sure.
It could be.
On page 487, I think you've got two numbers zip backwards. It has your actual lost revenue in fiscal year 23 is 3.085, but you've got the replacement as 3.805.
Oh, yes, I see. Well, you're right. It is a typo. I apologize for that.
That's okay. I was just.
It looked right at 3 in the morning, but.
It didn't look right at 8 o'clock this morning. But I understand.
Okay, there's always something somewhere.
So we could, because there's no restrictions on the interest, putting this fund back to the 11.9 original amount, earning $500,000 a year essentially in interest, that can be used for other things like capital improvements.
Oh, yes.
Very good. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that's what my understanding was.
That's right.
And if we're lucky.
Yes, if we're lucky.
Right. Any other questions for Joe? Karen?
No, I think
Scott?
it's great.
No, great job, as always.
Vice Mayor? Okay. Thanks, Joe. Is there a resolution, is there a motion to approve resolution 24, which one is it? Which one am I on?
284.
Resolution 24-284.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Counselor Safford, seconded by Counselor Woodson. Any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt? Aye. I'm an aye as well. Motion carries 4-0 with Counselor King absent. Item D is Resolution 24-289, authorized budgeting amendment number 4, allocations of remaining ARPA funds. Take it away, Joe.
Okay, we had originally received $3,553,000 of American Rescue Plan funding. We have until December 31st of this year to have it fully obligated, and by that, we actually have to have signed contracts for, and then we have another 2 years to actually completely expend those funds, and anything that is not obligated by the end of this year or fully expended by the end of next year would have to be returned to the federal government. So what I wanted to, within the resolution body, I started out by explaining that of that $3,553,000, we've already obligated almost, roughly 2.6 million of it. And so I listed out the various projects that we have come to you and sought approval for really within the last year is when all of this was happening. So we have, for the 2024 budget, we used about $832,000 to help balance the budget instead of increasing the millage rate. We used $41,000. There's like several tidal basin expenditures that we're not going to be reimbursed for by FEMA. These were things that they helped us with. So I'm proposing that we allocate, or we did allocate funding for, and that would have been for their assistance with the critical infrastructure, CDBGR grants, recovery and resilience planning, which is also CDBGDR. They also helped a little bit with multifamily housing assessments, and then with Hurricane Nicole, for which we did not receive any FEMA reimbursement. So those are small amounts, but at least it wouldn't come out of our emergency fund if we were to use the ARPA funding for that. We have some small temporary town hall expenditures that will not be covered by FEMA or insurance reimbursement of $28,000. Earlier this year, we had that $1 million allocation of ARPA funds to help with the Bay Oaks recreational campus redevelopment for that matching grant. And we're in the process now of, it's gone out for bid, and we'll be opening the bid soon. And once that happens, hopefully we can be under contract by the end of the year. But if not, there's a contingency also within this resolution. But so skipping on to the next thing, we used $411,000 to cover that unreimbursed VEDR contractor expense related to Hurricane Ian. We had the emergency duct bill outfall expense of $105,000. And then we also recently allocated $116,000 to pay for the strategic plan, that first installment payment that's due in June. And then we have another $62,000 of the payment that will be due in January. So we have all of that totals $2.6 million. So that leaves the $932,000 remaining that we need to allocate. And so by working with the town manager and directors, we've come up with a few other things that we know we can have contracts for by the end of this year, or that work will actually be done by the end of this year. And that would be that $47,500 for the palm trees for Times Square. That'll be going in soon. We are proposing that we use $648,531 for a combination jetback truck for stormwater drain cleanout. There's also a separate resolution for the purchase of that piece of equipment. And working with Mountain House, Adam Knight, he requested $13,586 for that Mountain House walkway lighting system, that just for public safety. for walking in the evenings when is no daylight. There's a coastal engineering canal debris assessment invoice for $28,842. It was an assessment that was needed to be done, but there is no actual funding for that. Then we have
H is resolution 24-295, Hurricane Helene sand screening. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, ratifying SPA-24-11-EN for action of the town taken October 3rd, 2024 regarding the waiving of the town's competitive procurement policy and contracting with ICS Materials, Inc. to screen debris from the sand overwashed by Hurricane Helene, to produce beach-compatible sand, place and grade beach-compatible sand onto the beach, remove debris from the beach, remove debris sand from right-of-way and the town property, and deliver the debris management site, and dispose of debris in authorized waste management site, and approving payment of ICS Materials invoice number 110624-29, 111524-29, and 111824-29 in the amount of $427,870 and providing for an effective date.
So this was basically a big catch-all. Helene caught us flat-footed with sand, a lot of sand, onto our roadways, and some vegetative debris washed up on our shore. ICS has been helping the town for quite a while. They jumped right in, agreed to get their trucks and whatnot. There was a huge mound of sand that we had here next to the town hall that has since left and been put back onto the beach with the thank of them. It's basically just jumping in, and of course, we know what happened less than 2.5 weeks later, and we'll get to that one next.
Is this, any of this funding, FEMA PA
Yes, sir.
reimbursement?
So we immediately reached out to, don't get caught up in the name, Tetra Tech, which is our material, it would have been like Thompson was last, with Crowder.
Right.
So they were actually the
monitoring service.
The monitors, yes, excuse
Okay.
me. And so they monitored every load that was brought in, they monitored every load that was brought out. We also asked ICS in the beginning to help pick up Helene debris, because we could not get enough trucks in here from our debris hauler. They took all that material, basically all white goods at that time, took it down to Lover's Key, where our provider had a site set up, and they were all scanned in there through Tetra Tech. So it was a regular complete debris, both sand, beach debris, and town debris.
Household good.
So yes, it qualifies under all of that.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? I'll make a motion to approve resolution 24-295 for Hurricane Helene sand screening.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Aller, seconded by Vice Mayor Adderholt. Any further discussion? I'm an aye. Vice Mayor?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with Counselor King being absent. Item I is resolution 24-287, Hurricane Milton Beach Cleanup. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach ratifying SPA-24-12-EN for the action of the town taken October 7th, 2024 under the emergency procurement policy to contract with ICS Materials, Inc. to take emergency protective measures to remove hazards to public health and safety from the right-of-way, town property, and the beach caused by Hurricane Milton, and approving payment of ICS Materials, Inc. invoice number 101824-31 in the amount of $256,167.25 and providing for an effective date.
This is basically a ditto of what they did for us for Helene, but this was over on our Old Town Hall site. And one of the benefits of this is they actually left the site in better condition than it was when the state got done after remediating our town hall. So all the sand that was collected from the Milton episode was returned back to the beach in the form of a berm. So they trucked it all to the north end and stored it on that empty lot for a while there, and went and re-curbed the berm that was lost through the last 2 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, they messed up my golf view, by the way.
Oh, boy.
We'll have to bring them before council, but I'll mention
I'm
that
just
too.
saying.
I knew.
I'm just saying.
I will
I
make
don't think you have a right to that view.
Yeah, right.
Well,
make a
I know
motion.
that, but as long as I have it.
All right.
Yes, take advantage of it.
I will make a resolution, I will make a motion to approve resolution 24-287,
Second.
Hurricane Milton Beach cleanup. Seconded by Vice Mayor Adderall. Any further discussion? I'm an aye. Vice
Aye.
Mayor?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson, Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. 297, adopting cybersecurity standards. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town Council of the Town of, this is not written right. A resolution of the, I'll read it as it was written. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, adopting the National Institute of Standards
This is
and
the last
Technology Cybersecurity Framework as the cybersecurity standard for the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, and providing for an effective date. Jason? You look like the cybersecurity expert.
Just for the record, so this is just something that we noticed, state statute is requiring that Florida municipalities adopt cybersecurity standards by the beginning of the year, so let's just put.
Comment, Town Manager items.
Nobody's interested. I just have a couple things, and we'll get into a lot of detail. Pushing to get Town Hall no later than, finished no later than March 1st, but hopefully sooner. The elevator's gonna be the biggest thing that